Hey everyone, Bihal here. It's been a while, and I'm just gonna record this video to show you some nice tips and tricks that I've learned throughout these last years, especially working for Buck in the last 3 years with a great team, and we always stumble upon some crazy moments where we have to figure it out, ways to solve issues. And we've been exchanging a lot. There's a lot of great people there, and they teach me a lot, and we've been exchanging a lot, and it's pretty handy, all the things that we share with each other, and I wanted to share a little bit with you. And I hope you like it. Just wanted to take the opportunity also to invite you to some of my social media websites. So I have my Behance here, behance.net/bhal. There's a lot of great stuff on my portfolio that I post there, so feel free to navigate. And also I have my Instagram account. It's at bhaldesign. There's a lot of great stuff here, like this one, for example, which is in my Patreon. I'll show you my Patreon in a bit. This is a tutorial that I dropped in my Patreon. A lot of lessons on how to set up this. There's a lot of other content as well. And there's my YouTube channel where you can find more tutorials, where I post some new stuff, some new videos, and some free tutorials as well, like this one. And my Patreon, you can go there, you find a lot of great stuff, especially with particles, which is something that it was when I started my Patreon account. I had just launched a project called Southerly, using the particle system in Cinema 4D right after they launched it. And I took a stab at it and created this nice project, and I wound up just breaking down all the shots here. I create all of the shots from scratch. So there's a lot of great content there. So feel free to navigate, feel free to subscribe for a month. There will be enough content for you to spend the month working and learning. And there's a lot of great stuff there, so feel free to navigate there, and hope you like it. And yeah, so let's jump right into Cinema 4D, and let's get to work. Yeah, so first thing that I do when I'm starting a project, I have a template for that, but what I usually do is I ask the formats, and I try to discuss with the client if we're creating for social media overall. I mean, this way, the best way would be to create like a square video. And I ask them if this is what they want, right? And so this way we can try to create everything within a grid, right? I'll show real quick how to build that grid. It's a simple thing, just using Spline, but the way I prepare the file overall, first of all, I just ask this, and I ask how about the FPS, right? In the newer versions of Cinema 4D, this is pretty handy because we have these already checked, which whatever we change here in the project tab, it'll update here automatically. This was a huge headache in the past, because if you forgot to update here as well, you would have animation in 24 FPS, and then you would render in 30 FPS, which was the default values, right? And right now it's already checked here, so we don't have to worry about this anymore. And of course, checking how long the animation will be, let's say 150. And one thing that I try to do, that I actually do here is, for example, the size of the scene is really important. We have this default box that is 200 centimeters, or we can use, for example, the figure to see. I try to keep everything real size. I mean, because this is really important if we're working for a real product or whatever. I mean, simulations are really important. Depending on what type of simulation we're using, we're gonna have nice results if we keep everything real size. Let's say we're working for a I don't know, a laptop company like Microsoft launching a laptop or whatever, we have the laptop and then we try to, uh, certainly the client will provide us with material, with models and real size and everything. And then let's say the laptop's kind of this size and we will have the keyboard. So we keep everything closer, right? But if we don't, let's say if we don't have something from the client, it's important to keep that in mind, right? What I do is I just create something just to give me a good sense of um, size of the scene, right? And for example, I can call this reference size. Cool. That's it. And then I start creating some nodes. So this will be geo, and I can just drop it here. I'm gonna create another one called lib, which is a library, and I create the camera, and I create lights. We can create one extra one, which can be like the set, right? So whatever we build for the scenario, we can drop it here, and whatever the extra geo that we have inside of the set, we can, drop it here, right? I think it's a good way to organize things. So I also organize things like this. I put the cameras underneath everything. Then we have lights, set, geo, and library, right? One other thing that's really important, I can just go here, select a group, and go to icon. You can just click custom. It's going to give you a color, so you can pick whatever color you prefer. Let's pick some red here for the camera, and we can change the icon. Let's say we have the camera, and this will be the light. We can do the same thing, create another thing here. For the light, we can use like a star, for example. Oh, it's the color is resetting. So let's use like this. For the set, the same thing, little preset. The set, I'm gonna put, let's put this one here, right? And change the color to green. Geo, we can just put maybe it could be this guy, right? It doesn't matter right now, but can put like blue. In library, same thing. That's it. I'm gonna call it library and put this L here, and let's put like this purple, pinkish kind of thing, kind of color, right? So that's it. This is a pretty handy stuff. It's a great way to organize everything, pretty much. I mean, the beginning. And another thing that I usually do is I create the camera. I'm gonna align the camera to the center. So right now I just like to put everything organized. Then I'm gonna enable my camera. I'm gonna move it here, and I'm gonna move it like this. So now we have the center of everything. So one way that I use to lock the camera, a lot of people use the protection tag, which is cool. It works nicely, right? You can't really move it. But I like to actually do something different. I like to create a keyframe for the camera, right? So this way, if I rotate things here and I scrub through the timeline, it's going to go back. This is handy for me because sometimes I want to just test different keyframes, different angles, and I can create different keyframes. So for that, I need to enable this one, the auto key, and I can just scrub through the timeline and maybe around here, I can just come here. This will become an animation. But while I'm creating, I try with the same camera some different angles, right? Until I find a nice one, and I create like a variety of angles, right? You have that option. This is the one I use a lot. But let's say I'm good with this one. And then the second, for example, the second angle, the third angle here, I like it most. I like it better. Let's say we're gonna have a different angle for the same design, and I just duplicate this one and I delete the first keyframes. I can press Shift F3. I'm gonna enable this one. And I can delete this keyframe, so I have the second angle for my camera. This one, it's not animated, right? And for the first camera, I can just delete these two ones and have the same straight frontal angle, right? This is what I usually do for cameras. It's pretty handy because if you want to change the camera position, if you want to animate the camera, you're gonna have to go to the protection tag, unless you just want to do it like a still, or you're already set with everything. You can just use the protection tag. I never use it. I mean, it's a preference thing, but I'm going to delete this one. And one important thing for us to do is to create the grid, right? I do it eyeballing everything. So I put like here a 16:9, right? It's going to get huge. And then I just scale this down and I put it as a child of my camera, and I just reset the numbers here, and I go to my top view or whatever, perspective view, and I move it slightly to the front. But then I have to rescale everything. I'm going to reduce the size like this, right? Because this one will be very close to the camera, and it won't affect the scene, right? This is part of the camera almost. And then I just eyeball the scale here, and I just duplicate this, and I do this thing here. That's it. That's all I do. So whatever change I do in the camera, I'm gonna move the grid. So, and that's pretty much it. That's what I do, because this way I know I'm creating for different formats, 16:9, 9:16, or even the 1:1, if the client wants to use it. So we can just keep everything like inside of this main square here. The key information, we have to be aware of the information. Everything has to fit here at some point of the animation, or if it's just a still, that's it. That's one important thing to keep in mind, right? And that's it. We had these thing here. This is the basic preparation I do for whatever project, and I have my template with different icons, and but yeah. So let's jump right into the next tip. Yeah. So this next tip is about Redshift. How do I organize my settings? We have by default, for example, everything is medium. But what I like to do is I like to create something. This is quite good. I mean, threshold here is good enough for me when we need to render whatever. But one thing that I do, we're going to be using a lot of Redshift live viewer, which requires the progressive passes here for the resolution in the real life, the real time display. And I put this in in a higher level because I want it to be very accurate. And another thing that you can do, for example, I have my preset here for Redshift, but you can come here and open the render view, and you can just drag and drop it here like this, and you just organize things a little bit. And then you go here, where is it? For you to save this one, customization, and then you save layout, right? You can go save layout as, and then you can just save Redshift or whatever name you prefer. I'm not going to save this one because I already have my Redshift saved here, and that's it. I use this all the time. For example, I have also the material here open, right? What I like to keep open here is the curve editor. I keep it open because I keep selecting and creating keyframes for the cameras or whatever, sometimes rearranging some elements, and I leverage the keyframes. So I have moment 1, 2, 3, different arrangements with the same object without duplicating them. And this is what I like to do. I keep this open. Of course, you gotta have a nice big monitor so you can see everything. But this is how I usually start organizing things. And then for Redshift, I usually crank this thing up, right? And I keep this is for bucket mode. And I can just keep this, for example, I have these main render setting, right? And this will be the low test. Let me just organize the first one. What I usually do, I go here. I don't know how to explain that, but someone told me that I should put this one in 75 because I have a 4090 and this would be better. Other thing, you have to close whatever Adobe programs you have open when you have to render Redshift. You can close everything from Adobe and then send your renders to Cook, right? So I put this at 75. I increase this to 256 so we can have bigger buckets. I tested a few files in the past, and going to 512, sometimes it takes longer, but I prefer to keep everything 256. For me, is good enough. But you can test. I mean, you can test. It's good to test all the frames. Sometimes going with 128 is faster as well. So you got to test, right? But I keep 256 most of the time. And yeah, so this is what I do here. And then I go to sampling. I'm not going to touch motion blur for now, and even the glow balls, because we can crank this up when we need to work with refraction. But we can check it out later when we talk more about rendering. And yeah, so this one I keep as it is, and I just uncheck this automatic sampling. And here I just put 8, and here I start with 128. Just when I have to render still in bucket mode, just so I can see how it goes. And I love using this denoise here, but sometimes Odin or optics, they work nice for me. But one thing that I do here, I've been using Odin. Odin, it's not Odin, right? It's OIDN, yeah, OIDN, yeah. I usually use them. I put here 3 and 3 for both. There are some issues happening with the progressive mode here when I'm using the render view, because it tries to calculate the denoiser, but then it goes back to the with a lot of noise, and then it keeps blinking, all the time, keeps flickering, I would say, and it's not good. I mean, I usually disable when I'm working here, and I re-enable when I have to bucket render. That's it. So I think this is good enough. Another thing that I do is I create this low anim test, which I usually do like a very low resolution. For example, here 0.5, here put 4 and 32. And I put here around 600 pixels. This I usually do when I have to render an animation fast. Let's say we need to test depth of field, we need to test motion blur, not motion blur because it gets too bad. I mean, too pixelated when we're rendering in this resolution, but just to get a sense of reflection, shadows, and overall effects that we only get when we render stuff, right? And for example, keyframes for lighting, for a lot of things like that require materials that require some type of bucket render, or could be progressive as well. But I try to bucket because sometimes what we're designing here, it gets a little bit different in bucket mode. This is something that I've learned throughout those years, and that you have to keep rendering buckets so you can see if the progressive and buckets are in the same page, right? In terms of look and feel, color, because sometimes they look different. I don't know why, but it is what it is. And yeah, this is pretty much it. And I usually don't save anything here. I just uncheck the save mode because it's just for the sake of playing it here in the picture viewer real fast. And we're gonna see this right now, actually. Why not? Let's just create a quick scene here. We have our guy here. I'm gonna create like a backdrop and backdrop. We have this guy, and I'm gonna increase the size of the backdrop. I'm gonna adjust here the extension. Yeah. And this one, we have to put it on set because it's part of the set, right? And let's bring a light. Could be like a dome light. Not a dome light. Let's bring a area light here, right? So this is gonna be like here to the side. And I think that's it. I mean, I'm gonna just work with this one for now. And I'm gonna put it inside of my lights group, right? Yeah, so I'm working on this one while I'm designing everything so I can see things bigger. Sometimes I use like original size and I keep changing the percentage here because I want to see the real size so I can see how it's going to look in the end. I usually never use fit to window because I keep zooming in and zooming out all the time. So whenever I need to see the whole thing, I just reduce the percentage here, and I just so I can get a sense. But I keep increasing and decreasing this all the time. Yeah, so, and for the render, let's say we have a animation around, let me pick that camera. I'm gonna animate this camera. I have already the auto key checked. I'm gonna create a 30-second, 30 frames animation, right? And then I want the camera. Let me see if I have the keyframe. I have the first keyframe, and the last one will be like this, right? We have the animation, and it's playing here almost in real time, which is cool, but it's not the case. That happens all the time. When we start dropping a lot of glassy materials and more elements, we now get this nice result here. For now, it works. I don't need to render anything, but let's say you have a very heavy scene. You can just go here, disable this guy, and you put all frames. You don't save anything, and you can just save the file here, and I can just render. It's gonna give you this message that you're not saving anything. Just click yes, and we're gonna see a quick render. And this is pretty handy. I put very low res, sometimes even smaller than this, depending on the scene, because it gets heavy. But I do this all the time, right? Because we need to be accurate in terms of, for example, here it gets too dark. I was focusing on the camera while I was designing here, but then the camera rotates and we're not working with this dramatic light here. For example, we need to be in a brighter scene, and this is what I do. I render really fast so I can see what's going on. We can check it through here, of course. We can see the animation by scrubbing the timeline here, and I can already see, and I can just duplicate my light. But depending on how far your camera goes, sometimes there are some parts of the animation that will miss some type of light or adjustment overall. And then I keep doing that all the time. And that's good. And this is another tip for Redshift. The main one, which is the higher resolution, I keep it a little bit medium res. You can just duplicate and increase the resolution. Let's say if you want to have a high res, you can just, for example, what I usually do, I'm not going to lie. So most of the projects that I work on, I just put like here around 0.8. Here I put 16, and here I can use like 512 if the scene doesn't have a lot of reflections, refractions. But most cases, when I have something a bit heavier, I put 2048 or 1024. But this, I mean, you got to test, right? I would say test like 3 or 5 to 10 frames so you can see if it works nice. But then you can just rely on these denoising filter. And I usually keep it at 3 for the final render, but depending on the shot, because if you increase it a lot and you have a lot of texture, a lot of bumps, it'll kill some of the bumps. And that's the reason I try to keep it as low as possible, and it does a pretty good job. So, but sometimes you can increase up to 5, and it works nicely. So, and that's it pretty much for the basic setup that I do. And another thing is how to save the file, which is really cool. And what I usually do, instead of putting the path here where I'm going to save the file, I usually, let's say I have a C4D folder, and let me just show you real quick here. I'm going to hop on my files here, projects, Patreon tutorials, tips and tricks. For example, sometimes I have this organization here. Let me just create a new one. I'm going to call this folder organization, right? And then I have here, let's say the folder organization is the name of the project. We're working for Microsoft. And let me just put Microsoft, right? And here I put like a folder named work. And here I put render, right? So inside of the work folder, I put a lot of things. I put C4D, and I put AE, I put PSD for Photoshop, PSD, and it keeps going. Sometimes I create like an assets folder, right? And that's it. And here inside of my render folder, I put like 3D. I put like comp. These I reserve for After Effects comp renders, and that's it. So, and previs, right? That's pretty much it. So this I drop pretty much the 3D sequences, PNG, cryptomats, everything I drop here. And I always, I'd say 99% of the cases, I drop everything in After Effects so I can do some final touches, some final CC or adjustments, mask or whatever, and then I render the comps here, right? And I try to keep the same name as the Cinema 4D file, as the comp, and I keep everything pretty much the same. So whenever I have new versions, I know where I'm working. So, and if we need someone else to pick the files, they know where we are. So, but the thing I create here to save, I disable this, almost never use this thing. I usually work with PNG, 16 alpha channel. If it doesn't have any alpha, it doesn't matter. But if it does have any alpha, I keep checked because I'll definitely need alpha. Or if I don't, I just can disable it in After Effects later. So what I usually do is // render /3D $PRJ $PRJ. So what that does, we had these two slashes here before. So what this will do, since we have the folder here, Cinema 4D, the file is here. It has to go up 2 times, 1, 2, and then it'll find the render folder. It'll get inside of this render folder. It'll find the 3D, which is this one, and then it's going to drop one folder with the name of the project and the sequence with the name of the project, right? So here just wrote it wrong. It's not all caps. It's render, and that's it. Oh, render. I don't know why it's changing. That's it. It's gonna respect this, right? It doesn't create, if you don't have, let's say you don't have this, right? You don't have the render folder. It'll create automatically for you, right? If you have only the work folder and you forgot to create the render folder, don't worry. Cinema 4D will create this sequence for you, right? This is really handy. And whatever you do, you can just copy the same path to the MIDI one and to this one. Same thing here, PNG, right? 16, alpha, disable this. And the low one, you don't need to save anything. So that's it. That's a handy thing that I do. And let's jump into the next tip. So this next tip here, I have this cloner with a lot of spheres and they're very high in density, right? You can see there's a lot of segments here and they're very, very heavy. And this is a quick thing here for animation. You see the animation is the same one from the previous file, right? If I disable the cloner, you see it's much faster. This is the real time. But when I bring this back, it's going to show me this very slow animation. And I don't want this. So basically what I can do is just to disable these all frames here, go to this icon here, and then you see real-time animation. Sometimes you're not going to be able to see 30 FPS. It's going to reduce to 12, 10, or even 5, depending on how heavy your scene is. But this is pretty handy. Let's say you have a lot of dense meshes in your scene and you can really delete them. They're not procedural. You can't reduce the quality of them, and you want to check the animation in real time. But let's say things get really heavy, and even with this unchecked, let's say the all frames unchecked, you're gonna see the animation starts to get really blocked. Because Cinema 4D will try to keep the real time, but it'll have to eliminate some of the frames in order to play it in real time, right? And you see it gets really blocky. I mean, it's not handy, uh, especially if you're working with camera or curve animations. You need to see is in, is out, or something like that. You want to smooth your animations. This is definitely not handy. So what I would recommend you is, let's say this is not a cloner. I would remesh everything and reduce the amount of polygons. You can just copy this cloner or this geometry into a separate file. You keep the same position, and then you can save it as a library. You can, let's say you can create like a folder, like high res library, and then you can just keep it as is. Because even if you keep the high res in the scene, it's going to get heavy. Even if you hide it, and if you have a second, you can use proxies, but I never use proxies. I won't lie, but if you're familiar with it, go for it. But I mean, if you're still editing stuff like vertex map or whatever, let's say we have vertex map animating here and changing materials and whatever, you're not going to be able to do this with proxies. So you got to define whatever it is you want to convert into proxies, but you're not going to have ability to edit them later. So the way I do this is, it's too heavy, I just save this separate, and then once I'm done, we're just ready to send this to the farm. I can just bring it back and replace with whatever I have here. So, and that's the reason I usually use everything inside of a connect. And this is gonna get heavy. Let me just try to disable it. Hopefully it's not gonna crash my Cinema 4D. Yeah, probably is gonna crash my Cinema 4D. That's all good. I mean, you get the point, right? I mean, I keep everything inside of Connect. I can disable it for a while, and I can use the vertex map and everything in a lower resolution geometry, and then I just replace it here with the final one, with the higher resolution one, right? But this one was a rookie move on my side here because I didn't check the size of it. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. So you don't have to worry about this file right now, but just keep that in mind. So you can just save the higher resolution file, you can tweak the lower one, and you just replace the vertex map, you just copy to the same connect object or the same geo. You don't have to use the connect if you don't want. But let's say you have a little bit more meshes here, like let's say you have 3 or 4, and you're using the vertex map applied to the 4 elements you have underneath it. You can just, oh, now it's good. And then you can just apply, bring the high dense meshes here and keep the same vertex map. It's gonna work just perfectly as it was, right? That's it. Let's jump into the next tip. So this one will be a bit of a organization here on the overall structure. Let's say you have, for example, I'm going to start with the library. I had the figure inside of the library, but let's say I don't want to see this figure here. I want to just create an instance of it, right? I'm gonna just copy one, so I'm gonna move it here. So let's say this is a counter, and then we have one guy here. I'm gonna copy the other one, and I'm gonna just move it here. All right, we have 2 instances of our guy, right? And we have this one, which is the source of these instances, but I don't want to see this one. you would say, let me just hide the figure, right? And then you hide it, but it's not going to show up anymore because you just click to hide the figure itself. One thing that you can do is to hide the group. You can just unhide the figure and you hide the library group, right? And whatever you have here inside is going to be hidden, but as long as you copy, as long as you create an instance of it, it's going to show up for you. It's pretty handy because let's say, for example, I want to do adjustments on the figure, which is this one in the library. I can just unhide it and solo it in the viewport, right? I can just go here and tweak some things and then I hide it again and then I just unsolo it and then we can see everything adjusted. And let's say you want to change, for example, vertices and polygon shapes or whatever, but these ones are rotated, they're not centered in the world, and then you lose like the power of alignment or whatever. But having this one, you can just change. Let me just convert it here. Let's say, for example, you want to scale this guy here to the side, right? This head here, and you just can do in the center one. But if you have these ones, for example, let me just show you the example. It's pretty straightforward, but I see myself, for example, I stumbled upon these issues and I forgot to align them properly. And I just converted this one. It's all separate, right? That's not what I want, but let me just go to the head. I should be able, yeah. And then I select the head, and then I don't have the axis following the actual direction of the head, right? And then we'll see this mess, which is not what we want. And that's why I usually create, most of my things, I create instances because I keep everything centered, and whatever I need to rotate, I just rotate the instance. And then I don't need to worry about this one. I just can adjust the source, right? This is one thing. I'm gonna delete this one. So always keep the library group hidden. And let's say we're working with a lot of groups here. Let me just duplicate once more. And for example, we're good with lights. We're good with camera for now. I'm gonna just, I just wanna hide them from here, all of them. Let's say we're confused. There's a lot of objects here and we just wanna make everything organized. I just wanna see these ones here. So we basically just create layers. I'm gonna just select these ones and also the children. You can just click shift and middle click in all of them. It's gonna select the child of each group. Right click, add to new layer, right? And this one could be like a generic one. This is gonna be the hidden. Right? And then what you can do is to just hide it from the list of objects, right? Or you can hide them from the viewport as well. But this is good because let's say you want to see them here, and but you don't want to see them here. Now I have the geo, which is the important thing. I'll be working a lot of time. I'm going to spend a lot of time on these ones. But at the same time, let's say you have a lot of objects here and you have all of them open, right? And you have to keep them open because you have to edit them, but they get confusing, you know. At least for me, when I'm looking at everything here, they get confusing. I'm just tweaking one of them. What I usually do, I select all of them. I select the geo. I deselect the geo by clicking Control and just clicking again. It's going to deselect this one. And then I can just go here and press custom. So all of them will have the same color. I just put like a red or could be black. they will be kind of a little bit disabled. And then let's say I'm working on group 4. I select group 4 again with middle clicking the number 4, and I just disable, clicking none. So now I have only this group here. I can easily see where I'm working on. And then you can just go back here and click none for everybody and do the same process all the time. As long as you're spending a little time here, that's worth it to select everything, to, changing the colors here. And then you can, there's a lot of ways to do that. You can do the same process as I did. You can just close the other groups. But let's say you have a lot of them. You would have to click all of them all the time and open and closing them all the time. You can just put them all open and do the process. And you can see here the geo just lost its color. You can just go here again and press custom. It's going to keep the same color as it was, because it had stored the color, the previous color. And you can do the same thing again. Deselect the geo group, custom. It's gonna store the previous color. And let's say now you're gonna go to the 2, middle click none, and now it's easier for you to see where you're working on, right? This is pretty handy. But again, let's say you have all of these ones, they're ready, you don't need to work with them anymore. You can whether drop them here and they will be gone, or you can just create layers, separate layers for each one. Let's say they're important. You want to create separate layers for each of the groups, right? You can just middle click and then add to new layer, and this will be one. And you just want to hide it, just go for it, and that's it. Let's say you want to keep it enabled here, but you want to lock it. Just click lock, it's going to be disabled, right? These ones are kind of similar, but you can have access to them quickly. Let's say you want to just change this one. You don't even have to change the color of it. You can just change this one real quick and then keep it black as it is, so you can keep going with this group here. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, right? And this is pretty handy because this one you won't by any mistake just click it and change anything, because sometimes it gets confusing. Even naming everything, you have cloner, group 1, group 2, you can select them and it's easy. Of course, you have the option to write down here cloner, and you can name all of them, right, using the naming tool. You can use a prefix, a suffix, and that's it. Let's see what I can teach you again. Let's go to the naming, right? So cloner, I don't use it much. You select all the cloners, you bring the naming tool, and you just go here and you want a prefix. I usually don't put the prefix, I just use the suffix. Let's say cloner groups, and that's it. Replace name, and you have all groups. I don't know if there's a way to delete these dot ones here, but at least you have these ones, for example. And let's say, for example, you have a lot of other cloners and you want to find these ones, you can just find them here. It didn't find all of them, but you can just put groups, and then you see all the cloners with groups in the name. But let's say you want to go further and create a selection object. And this one will be the cloner groups. And you want to put them all here. You can just select these one. You have the list, just lock it here, and now you can select these cloners, drag them here, because this way you can select them all. Again, you're selecting all of them, right? And whatever changes you do here, you're doing in all the cloners, right? Let's say these cloners have the same parameters. You don't want them to change. You don't want to customize any of them. They have all the same parameters, all the same values, and you want to keep them like that. And you can select a lot of these. You can create a lot of selections, and you can just group them and call selections. And that's it. So you can do this pretty much for all of them. Excuse me. That's pretty handy. You can organize a lot of things. To be honest, for me, it's sometimes I don't use it. I don't have time, but when you have time to organize the files, is really good, right? It's really important, especially when we have teams working with us, a lot of people, and this is pretty handy. And that's it. So I hope you like it, and let's jump into the next one. Yeah, so now I'm going to start just creating some random things. This will be fast ones. For example, we have the cloner here. If you want to just select one of them and hide them or change their position, you can just select your clone, go to Mograph Selection, and let's say we want to select these ones in the corners. And you can see it gets a little bit orange, right? You can press Control, it's going to deselect it. You can press Shift, it's going to select it, keeping the other ones. And that's it. We have them all selected, and it creates this tag here, right? And with that selected, you can just create, let's say, a plane. And it'll change by default the position, right? And then we can just something. Oh, of course, I added the plane as a child of my cloner. I usually do that because when we have a stack of objects, I press Shift and double click it. Let me show you again. For example, let's say we have a lot of objects here, and I just double click it, holding Shift is gonna go underneath it, right? Because sometimes you have a long list here, gotta grab them and drag them all the way down to the cloner that you have, right? So this is the one I created. Yeah, this is the one I'm using. And as you can see here, the ones I've selected, they're changing. I can just change the visibility. Put here -1. I think visibility is supposed to change them here, but I usually use the uniform scale here. It's all good, because if you want to animate them, you can change the position, you can change rotation, you can even add a random. You just select the cloner in the tag again and just add a random, and you see we can apply whatever effectors to the ones we selected, right? Let's jump into the next one. So yeah, in this one, I'm gonna just use this plane here. We're gonna deform the surface of this plane. This is a really nice trick. So let's say we wanna create like a plinth. I want the surface to go up and to touch my plinth, right? And in a very nice, organic, rounded shape. And to do that, I need to increase the amount of segments here. Let's say 600. And so that's cool. And another thing is I need to add a plane effector to my plane. And I'm going to set it to point. And you can see it's already changing the points on my plane, right? But I don't want them to go to the side. I want them to go up like this. And one thing that I need to do is to add a field to my plane, which is the cylinder. And I'm going to set this to surface. And probably I need to increase this. Yeah, I need to increase this. But maybe I can just reduce the radius, right? And I can just increase the height of my points. And I can keep adjusting both, right? Whatever I want. If I want the radius to be larger, I need to decrease this guy here, right? Yeah, that's cool. And you can see it's kind of following the segments that I have here. All right, you can adjust that. That's really cool. I want it to be thinner. I think it's too large right now. And I need to reduce the radius here. And I need to increase the height. That's it, right? So whatever I move my cylinder, it'll follow. If I move it up and down, we're gonna have this thing. We can just do like a landing thing, and then the floor goes up. It's a bit sensitive. You gotta move it slow. For example, here, if you move fast, it's gonna go up really fast, but it's really cool. But let's say we wanna make this a little bit smoother. We have some options here. For example, we can just tweak the curves here of the remapping. And I think this is not what we want, right? Because we don't have much control, and it goes down, right? This is not what I'm going to use, but we can also use a smoothing modifier. Put it here. Let's say I can increase this one. I can increase iterations. Yeah. 60, and I can use maybe fields here, a linear field, and set this to y, y negative, right? And this way we keep the smoothness here at the bottom. You can even try to increase a little bit. This will require some calculation, and I would suggest you, if you're animating this stuff, I would just disable the smoothing because it gets a little heavy. Let me try here. So it gets a little heavier. You see, it's really cool. I mean, we can do whatever we want. We can add more objects. Let's say we're going to duplicate this, and I'm going to just put this one here. I'm going to reduce the size, and I'm going to just drag this one here and apply it as add. This one also has to be surface. And you can control it individually, right? And say 35, no, 34.2, 3. That's it. Right, now we have 2. And we can do whatever we want. We can animate them up and down. go to the side. And that's it. I mean, this is a pretty handy way to deform some surfaces. And let me just increase this here and see. Now, reduce the stiffness. It's going to get more rounded. Increase the iterations too. Yeah, you see, you can increase this. It gets really interesting, right? And that's it. Let's jump into the next one. So this one's going to be a fast one, but it's pretty handy. I mean, I just figured this out a few months ago, and I was stunned by it. We know that we can isolate any objects with lights in Redshift. Let's say we want to just one light isolated to the glass. Let's say this is our HDRI, but let's say I'm going to use a area light here, and I want this area light just to affect my glass, right? I'm gonna reduce the size here. And I'm gonna set it to include, and I'm gonna put my beer. You see? That's cool, right? And it's pretty handy. And you might hear my daughter just crying in the background, but yeah, she's a newborn. My little Cecilia. But yeah, so this is pretty handy. I was working on a project with a lot of sunglasses, and they were crossing each other, and you know that they will reflect everywhere, and all these sunglasses will reflect them, the other ones, in their lenses and their frames, and yeah. So it gets pretty noisy, right? Especially when you're doing some project visualization. It gets really, really bad when you have a lot of objects reflecting and the reflections don't look great. They look messy. One thing that you can do is just remove the reflection. Let's say, for example, you have these option here to add a Redshift tag, and you have visibility, right? And you put like here visible in reflections, right? But sometimes you get these kind of, you know, not really good results, right? And even the coin here, for example, let's do the same thing. I just put here visible in reflections. It's not what we want, right? And the thing you can do is just actually, for example, I want to remove the reflection of the coin in the glass on the floor. And I go to my floor, apply Redshift Tag, excuse me, and then I go to this tab here, exclusion. I put override, and I exclude my beer and my coin. That's all you got to do, right? Pretty handy, pretty easy. But this was something that I figured out not a long time ago, and I got stunned because I was finding a lot of ways to remove reflective objects and some other ones, and I found this one pretty handy. I mean, yeah, I hope this is new for you as well, because I got stunned by it. But yeah, it's a handy thing. Let's jump into the next one. So this will be the last one for this video, and this will be a little bit more complex, but it's something that some people ask me all the time. When I'm rigging cameras, I do like a kind of a Frankenstein thing, because I keep building controllers that will help me to adjust the camera whenever I need. If the client asks for a new rotation, a new pan, or whatever, I can just ask controllers. So let me just show you what I do pretty much in my camera animations. Let's create a camera here. I have this standard one. I'm gonna enable. Let me just create a null camera, and this one will be center to the world. So my camera goes here and I want it to be centered. Let's say the camera will start from the bottom of the structure, right? Let's say these are buildings, right? And the camera right now is 35, which is cool. Maybe I can even create something more here, right? And I'm going to play with this camera a little bit. This one, I'm going to start with the 25 lens, right? Let me see how that goes. Actually, instead of doing that, I'm going to just rotate this one 45 because I want to be able to see a little bit of distortion. Cool, 25. Maybe even 15. Or maybe I can go the other way. I'm going to put like 120, right? And the camera goes here. And I need to increase the size of the floor. That's it. I'm going to start here. And all right. So now what I got to do is I got to add another group to my camera. This is going to be the move. Just let me think here. I have the move. I have the rotation. No, I'm not going to add this rotation because I want the camera to go towards the tower. I'm going to distort the lens a little bit, and then the camera starts going up and it rotates around it, right? So I have this move, and I'm going to add a target. It's this tag, right? I'm going to create another null. This will be the target. I'm going to move it down here. Cool. And I want to link my target, right? I'm going to move my target up. All right. And, oh, let me save that file, right? All right. So now what I can do here is I'm going to use this move overall. This way I can just animate this group instead of animating the camera. So the camera is a little bit more free. It's looking at the tower, and then, but I can kind of move the camera freely a little bit if I need to do some extra rotation, and I can play a little bit with it. So this one could be the overall move, but I'm going to apply a S-spline, a follow spline to it, right? So to do that, I need to add a circle, reduce the size. I have to increase it. And here's my circle. So the circle should be here to connect with the camera, right? I'm going to put like 60 in the points. And now this circle is the one that will control align to a spline, and this will be why. Let me see why it flipped. Oh, I know what it is. Actually, because the camera moved to another position, right? The camera came to this other side. So it should be at the bottom. But I'm going to rotate my circle, right? And then it's back to the same angle, hopefully, I guess. No, let me see. I rotated the line, but the camera is in the same. Okay, but I have then to do this here. Let me see. This is looking at the circle. No, let me just delete this guy. Oh, of course. I have to put my spline here, right? And that's the reason. Let me zero this parameter. So now my camera is back, right? So that's it. Because I forgot to add my camera to the spline path here. So now it's good. It's rotating around. Pretty cool. And what I'm gonna do first, actually I'm gonna reduce the circle. I want it to be closer. I want it to be around here, but the camera will move. Now I'm gonna duplicate the group here, create another group, and this one will be move forward, right? Because this way I have the camera free here. And just increase the size of the floor. And I'm gonna animate the camera. This is the key, the end keyframe where the camera aligns to the path, right? To the circle. I'm gonna increase the amount of frames to 300. Then I'm gonna go around here on frame 100. Not 100, yeah, it could be 100. And I'm going to create a keyframe here in the Z axis. And here I want to move the camera backwards a lot, right? So also I'm going to move the target a little bit up so I can center the image a little bit better. And that's it. And what I can do here is to play a little bit with the focal length around frame 100 as well and put it at 25. So now I can just actually reduce the size of my circle because I want the camera to end here. Remember, the camera here is at frame 0 where it's properly aligned to the circle. So if I want the camera to get closer, I need to reduce the circle, right? Because I don't want it to, I don't want it to be in a wrong position here. I want it to be aligned with my path. That's it. So now the camera, and then I can even pull the camera backwards a little bit more, right? If I want to compensate. All right, that's great. That's working. Now this is where things start get interesting. I can even, let me see here. I can even move the camera a little bit more, and I can increase this one to, let's say, 180. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that's really cool. And from here, I'm going to click this camera, this circle, and I'm going to move it up. I don't like to create a lot of keyframes. Sometimes I create all the keyframes, but right now I know I just need the Y. And around here, I want the camera to go up. Right? Let's see what that does. All right, And from here, I'm going to start animate this guy as well. From here, right? Just to see what that does. Yeah, if it's too fast right now, it won't give us the sensation of a big thing, the camera aligning to a big structure, right? We need more keyframes here. Let me just move these ones, and also these Y position for the circle. Yeah. Okay. That's cool, right? And one thing that I can do here, let me see, maybe I just need a little bit of a curve animation here for the Y, so we can have things a little bit smoother. Yeah, and also we have to move forward. I have the Z. Yeah, this one, I think it won't work because it's connected directly to the camera lens, right? The focal length. If I need to improve it, I need to improve both together because they follow the same speed. I can even start with a linear kind of thing. Yeah, but the rotation here is starting a little bit too early. And then I need to delay the rotation here. See? All right, but also I have a little other thing to adjust. You see, there's a lot of room here, and I need to move my target down, right? I'm gonna move my target. I just create a Y keyframe for it around here. I can just move it a little bit. I can even keep moving the camera further so we can get closer and closer to the tower, the towers, the city, the buildings, right? I can even push it. Let me see. Actually, maybe I can reduce the radius. Yeah, that's it. Now it's time to, all right, around here we have the radius, and here we're gonna decrease the radius, right? Because this way we'll keep the feeling of the camera flying through the buildings and going on top of them. Maybe I can even revisit the target animation, which is here actually. And let's, yeah. Let's see if I can, maybe the move here, I can just, yeah, get this camera closer. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, it gets a little bit more interesting. But at the same time, Yeah, let me just keep it as is, right? Yeah, but now I need to speed up the radius here a little bit because I'm losing the zoom in. Right? And I can keep playing with the curves. Oh, that's cool. It goes like almost between the buildings and then zoom out a little bit. And that's it, right? So this is one type of animation. But let's say I want to bring a final new rotation to everything, right? So I want the camera to rotate here vertically towards the top of the towers. And I don't want it to be properly aligned. I don't want it to be very straight. Otherwise, I would have to adjust a lot of things, just a little bit. But yeah, I actually created an extra keyframe here, which is this one. Oh shit, this one. Actually, I need to 92.4, right? All right. So and that's it. I mean, and now I can just create circle. Let me say circle around. And this one will be circle. Like this, right? And I think that's good enough. Let me just see which tower it is on top. This one, I think it's cool. All right, so now this circle vertical rotation. I mean, we can create better names, right? Organize them a little bit better. But this one is driving everything, right? So whatever I do with this circle, it'll follow. And now I can just create a rigging here, adding a constraint, parent, and add my circle. So then around, let's say here, I want my circle to rotate. Let me just see. Should be like this, I guess. Let me see here. Yeah. Let's see. And from here, let me just create all the keyframes. I forgot which one. Is this one, C. Yeah, I want to go here, but it's rotating a little bit weird, but I can compensate it. It's because I'm not using a, what can I call it? It's the vector. I forget the name. Where is it? Forget the name. It's not target, up vector, right? The up vector, I can create something. Let's say I'm going to create like a cube. Let's see how that goes. I'm going to move this all the way to the sky. And I'm going to use this up vector. You see, it's a little. And now this rotation here, I can revisit it and just delete the ones. Let me see here. Maybe I can adjust the up vector. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Can keep it as is. Yeah. And then everything gets a little bit more stable, right? You see? And this one has to have a little bit of adjustment here on the curve because I want it to start very slow. And doing that, I can just, let me see if moving forward, no. Now the camera can move forward. Or I can, I think it's reducing, no, this one. One thing that solves the issue, for example, I want to zoom in real quick. I can just do a last camera distortion here. And it's all good. Right? You see, it's a very, very handy way of creating your animation. You can name things properly. You can organize the rigging. Right now they are very bad. I mean, the names are very bad, but you don't have to worry much about it. You just need to understand the, see, like I can smooth things out, just anticipating a little bit some of the rotations, like the final one. Yeah, and even this circle around radius, because here, yeah, it should stop. Let me see if I can smooth this out. A little bit better, but I think this one is too abrupt. I think I can increase the animation here by, let's say 30 frames. And I can just, yeah, just move a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I would have to adjust. Let's keep it as is because I would have to adjust the final keyframes of everything. Let's see here. Only geometry. Okay, that's it, right? And let's say, for example, the client wants they don't want to go down anymore. They don't want to go up. They want to go down, right? So what I can do here is eliminate this final rotation, and I can just go here, and I can kill this zoom in at the end, and I can just pick the Y axis of my circle, and we can go down again. You see how easy it is? Of course, you got to understand what you're doing, right? And that's really cool. I mean, I can, around here, I can just reduce the radius. No, not the radius. Yeah, maybe the radius, but also I could move, could try to come around here, and I want to move a little bit further to the front, right? This way I would have to adjust a little bit the target. I would have to move the target a little bit to find a position. And I can create all the keyframes here. And around here, I want the target to make my camera look straight to this alley. Not sure if it's alley, but you know. And then I want to move it to the opposite direction of my camera, right? So the camera's here, this target needs to be around here, because this way it'll allow me to reduce the radius of my circle. And even move the circle a little bit. And I can give it a little bit of creative license in the end. No, this one's getting too harsh. I mean, we gotta smooth things out. Yeah, to make it a little bit more. And this one has to I need to add this zoom out a little bit. And around here, I'm gonna create position. I already have the positions, right? I want to create a position for X, perhaps like this. And let's see, but I can just adjust here. So it starts slow. See? See how you can smooth things out? Yeah, that's it. And then we cue the cliche, right, of going to the top. We just navigated through the buildings, and then we go down and we show this one. That's it. I mean, there's a lot of refinement, But you see how fast it is to organize that, right? It's an easy thing. And then we can keep adjusting. Let's say they want to change a little bit in the middle here. You can create some controllers. I call it Frankenstein because it is what it is. I mean, that's what it is to me. I mean, we're attaching new controllers, but it's totally controllable. I mean, you can delete them, but yeah, it's difficult to for someone else to pick the file and to keep going unless you have a nice call with that person to show what's going on. But it's pretty handy, you see. Like, I mean, this is a how much did we spend here? How long did we spend here to create this nice animation? And we have, this is a 30-second animation. This is 11. This is 13, almost 13 seconds animation, right? In a few minutes. And add some nice textures, some nice lighting, and voila. All right, this was the nice tips and tricks. I hope you like it. And as I said, there's a lot of great things in my Patreon. I explore a lot of design things, particle things. And let me know in the comments if you want to learn something else. I can keep creating some free stuff here, but also my Patreon has a lot more complex and complete project. So if you have a chance, go there, subscribe for a month, and navigate through it. And of course, you have a lot of nice material for a month, so you make your investment worth for sure, right? Cheers, everybody. Happy New Year. And yeah, I hope to see you soon again. Cheers. Bye.